Hey guys, it's me, Liv. I am so sorry I had to skip one Salvage Sunday last week, but whew, what a week I had. But I am back, and this one is not just a salvation, this is a resurrection. I am actually working on a project here, and it completely went haywire. It's the first time I thought I'd try it, but I was not going to let it go. I was going to resurrect it from the dead and make something out of it. So I was watching these really cool videos, both by Jennifer McGuire and I think it was Mindy Eager that I was watching, in which they went ahead and did some, I guess, like stamping with a stamp with the heat emboss, and then were able to pull off another print on top of it. So that was what I thought I was going to do here in theory. So the stamp that I decided to use is one from Not Too Shabby Shop. It is the bouquet one that I showed you. That's a new release for this month. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this out because I have yet to try this technique, and go ahead and try to heat emboss these images on, and then when I wet it, I should be able to get like a negative print on the other side, like I saw in the very clever videos that I saw. So I'm going to go ahead and put this all over because I figured I would actually make more than one card, and it would be nice to get a variety of colors in the card. So first up, I'm using my Versamark ink that you see here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get out some of my clear embossing powder. And here is where I think I went wrong. Someday off camera, I'm going to try this technique again to see if I can actually get it right, because I never actually went back and tried it because I just got so exacerbated that I did it wrong and wanted to figure out some way of saving this card. I never actually tried the technique as it should be. But you can't really see it on camera either because I can actually see where my Versamark is stamping here. But once I have that, I'm then going to go ahead, and you see here is where I went wrong. Even though I'm using clear, I think my mistake, and hey, if you guys want to comment below, I appreciate it because I don't know everything and I do like to try new things, and then sometimes it's, hit and miss here. But I think my mistake here is that my paper was not dry enough. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I got too eager and I went ahead and blasted. And so I didn't actually end up with the definition like I was expecting to end up with. Instead, I ended up with these blobs that you see here. And I went ahead and they, disappeared fine. I thought, okay, maybe this is going to work. It's okay, even if it, is more of the outline of the flower. I think I can work with that. So then once I heat them all up, I went on to the next step with the technique, which is supposed to be going to take water onto it and then lift it up, and then you should actually get almost like a negative print. So this is what you see me doing in this box that I just used, pretty much not to have it spray all over the place, and pressing down on it, seeing what happens. And you know what? Nothing happened. I was so aggravated. One, because I went through this whole thing, and two, I was like, oh, this does not work. But anyway, so I said, what can I do here? Because this is a nice size paper. This is some Bristol Smooth, and I really hate throwing paper away when I can actually make something of it. So with that being said, I said, I wonder how much I can just ink around and maybe do something to salvage it. So I went back in with my distress ink to kind of darken up some areas using those same three colors that you saw in the beginning. So like a red, a pink, and a purple. And then I'm going to say, you can barely faintly see the stamps there. So I thought, maybe if I took out some of my pigment ink, I might be able to do something. So after I went ahead and trimmed these down to a typical A2 size, I can actually see where the initial stamping was done. So I figured I would take out my pigment inks and see if I can get it to be almost like an outline on it, because I can see the underneath somewhat. You can't really see it that well on camera, but I could see it here. So I thought, and you could see it in the final picture when you see how they all come together. So I thought that might actually work so it looks like it's a shadow and with the white on top of it as an outline. So once I did that, I went ahead and stamped them all. And as you can see, I'm like fumbling all day. This was probably like a day I probably shouldn't have crafted, because sometimes it's like nothing is just going right and you just should have quit. But I was determined I was not going to quit. Next time I might just let it go. But this time I wanted to make sure everything was nice and dry. So I really actually kind of liked how that came out. I think this is because it was such a dark color paper. You don't see it as well as I would like with that white. Maybe it would have been cooler to use white embossing powder. I don't know. I didn't mind the pigment ink at all, and I think like on this card you see, I made sure to really do a strong impression, and I think it stands out a lot more. But maybe white embossing powder. Gotta think about that one. So now I pretty much managed to salvage both of these, and I thought it was something that I could work with. Once I had them all firmly dry, I'm going to, of course, do a little bit of actually water splatters here. Not going to be using any white splatters, to try to maybe pick up a little bit more and create more depth between the colors, because the colors are so deep initially, because I put a lot of ink on thinking I was going to try the other technique. And now it's just time to start doing some trimming down. So I'm using my my rectangle ones here to go ahead and do some cutting out of the dies with my dies. And not to bore you any further, I went ahead and cut these out. These are the pieces that I have left, and now it's time to start gluing everything down. And I don't know if you remember from the very beginning when I made the first mistake, this was actually one of the papers that got lifted up when it should have had that imprint of the flower on it. But I thought, hey, it's kind of cool. It kind of goes with my whole mixed media vibe. I think I'll keep it alive and go ahead and use it as part of the base to start mounting up my cards on. Of course, just to go ahead and give some dimension, using some foam tape on the back of one of the main prints here. And I wanted to go ahead and let that background show a little. So since I had trimmed that one down, this is where I'm going to leave it. So now moving on to card 2. This one I did not use one of the background papers. I am just going to use some regular old white cardstock. Go ahead and trim it out and go ahead and start mounting everything. Now this one is going to be more of a layered look. So I will pop up the middle piece here. And once I have all the 4 sides on, it will go ahead and be popped up onto the front, as you're going to see in the final card. Finally, I'm going to move on to the next step. And in here, because I wanted to pop up even more, I am going to be putting that foam tape in the center so that it can balance it out a little bit more. I'm actually going to be putting 2 layers of foam tape on top of each other to go ahead and get a greater thickness than I originally have in my current foam tape, because when you're doing these types of layers, you do want it all to kind of add more and more layers, which gives it more dimension in it. Once I have that all set, it's time to go ahead and move on to some sentiments. I am going to go ahead and use sentiments from that same stamp set that you see me use in the beginning, and I really wanted to not distract too much from the already overwhelming card that I have here, so I decided to stamp these sentiments using my Memento Luxe pad onto some vellum so that you can go ahead and see the beautiful pattern underneath. I'm drying it off just a little bit because I want to make sure that it doesn't bleed as I'm mounting everything. Now, as much as I love the look of vellum, I have to admit I haven't quite figured out a good glue. It doesn't show through. So if anyone has any fantastic tips out there, feel free to leave a comment below, because I would love to use vellum more, but not really sure how to get it to glue down without having the glue show. So now that I have these elements down, I figured I'd add just a little bit of embellishments onto it to spice it up. For the first one with the purple, I'm adding some various rhinestones that I have in my stash. And for the other one, I am adding some enamel dots. And then my card is pretty much done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching my really Resurrection Sunday, not even a salvage. I'll see you guys soon and have a great night. Take care, guys. Bye.